Hello, welcome. It's Abidi's Kitchen, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my Baigan Choka recipe. Now, Baigan Choka is very popular in Guyana and Trinidad, and it is made from roasted eggplant. For this recipe, you will need one large eggplant. This one weighs a pound. An onion, a medium size. 2 cloves of garlic. Pepper, I'm using green chili, wiri is recommended, and tomato, I have here two small, you can use one medium, and some shallots. You will also need salt and oil. The first thing I'm going to be doing is the preparation of the eggplant. Now, you want to have a nice firm baigan when you're doing this, and yes, you will be hearing me saying things like baigan and eggplant and baigan because it is all interchangeable for this. Make about 2 or 3 slits in my baigan or baigan, and I will be inserting a piece of garlic in there. Now I'm going to be taking one of my peeled garlic clove. I'm going to make 3 slits because I've made 3 slits on the baigan, and I'm going to insert this garlic into those slits. Now this is going to roast along with the baigan, and it's going to give it a nice flavor and taste. If you don't like garlic, you can omit this, but you still want to put the slit in the baigan or the eggplant. That way it is going to be easier to cook and roast. Now that the garlic is in the eggplants, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the stove and I'm going to roast this. I'm going to roast my baigan or my eggplant here on medium to low, and I'm going to roast it until this baigan softens up and collapse. Now if you wanted, you could have wrapped this eggplant or this baigan with foil wrap so it won't make a mess on the stove, but this is how I do it. You could also roast it in the oven, but this is the traditional method of roasting it on the stove or the fireside. So I'm going to let this be here for about 10 minutes. It's going to start to soften up, and then I'm going to flip. Do not touch this, do not fidget, just let this eggplant or this baigan roast here and soften up while I prepare the other ingredients. So these are the traditional greens or seasonings that goes with Baigan Choka, and it's very popular. And I'm not cutting my tomatoes, I'm going to roast those. I want those to have a nice smoky flavor. And what you're going to do with the other seasonings is you're going to cut them very thin, very small, because you want it to incorporate nicely into the baigan. So here I've chopped up everything and I've changed my mind a bit. I'm going to be roasting one of the tomato, and I've cut up one here into nice thin slices. You could do it either way. Now this here is ready. My eggplant is still being roasted, and I'm going to put my tomato on there as well to soften up and to roast. Now this has been on here for the past 4 to 5 minutes and I haven't touched it. As I said, I'm not going to touch this. When my timer beeps after 8 minutes or so, then I'm going to flip it over onto the other side. I'm going to gently flip my eggplant to the side. As you can see, it's getting nice and charred there, and I'm going to wait for that side to soften up. Then I'm going to flip it onto the other side as well. And that is going to soften up. Now you're going to completely roast this eggplant. You're going to see that the eggplant is going to soften, is going to shrink down, and you will know that it's finished roasting. So I just removed my tomato from the stove. It's been roasting, and I wanted to show you how nice and charred that has become, and it's going to give you a nice smoky flavor. And what's going to happen, the skin would be removed and you would have a nice softened smoky tomato, and the baigan will be ready shortly. So my eggplant has been roasted here and it's very hot and it's nice and charred, and I'm going to, as you can see, it's very soft. I'm going to let this cool down before I remove the outer layer or you could split it straight down the middle and scoop out the insides. You want to harvest as much flesh as you possibly can from this. So as you can see here, if I remove the outer layers, you can see it's revealing the flesh on the inside. So you want this to completely cool before you go ahead and do that, and then we'll put this together. So I've scooped out the inside of my Baigan here, and you want to try to get out as much of the char as possible. You don't want to have a lot of those black burnt specks in there. So I'm now going to take a fork and I'm going to move this around and try to break up the large chunks and also remove any excess pieces of char from the Baigan skin. So there, this is nice and ready. And if you find any big pieces and the pieces of garlic that you had put in there, you want to break it up. And sometimes the Baigan does not roast well. I must tell you that sometimes it has a lot of seeds, sometimes it doesn't get quite as soft. Now I'm going to be adding some salt in here. My roasted tomato. Now you don't have to roast the tomato here. You can also fry this up in the oil, and that is what we're going to do shortly. So here I am over at the stove, and it's time to put the choka together. Now as you can see, the Baigan roasted quite a bit and made a mess there, and that is why some people don't like to make Baigan Choka. Now I'm going to let this come up to heat. Now into my hot oil I'm adding in my onion. And traditionally, choka is made by adding all of the fresh ingredients into the eggplant, and then you pour the hot oil over it. But because I have kids and they don't like the raw texture and taste of the onions, I like to kind of soften and cook my onions here a bit before I go ahead and add that into my choka. I'm also going to be adding my pepper and my tomato. What I'm going to be doing here is making a nice vegetable stir fry, sort of, and I will be adding that into the Baigan to make the choka. Now as you can see, this is colorful and really nice. It's really fresh. Just gonna let my vegetables saute here for about 2 minutes, and then I'll be adding it into the Baigan choka. Now I'm adding in my shallots. You could do this fresh on top if you like, but as I said, my kids would not have it if it is very fresh or almost raw. A little bit of salt, and I've also added salt into my Baigan. And now the final step, I have here all of my sauteed vegetables, and I'm going to pour that nice hot seasoned oil over the choka, and you're going to incorporate and bring this together. Add salt, test for salt as well. And here it is. I've mixed everything well together here. This looks delicious. It smells great. It is nice and fresh. And here you have it, guys. It's Baigan Choka. This is looking absolutely delicious, amazing. Salt to taste. If you think the oil is too much, you can add a little less, but the hot oil is what puts everything here together. And this goes really, really nicely, as I said, with oil roti or sada roti or even bake. Do try this recipe. All of the measurements and ingredients will be listed in the description box below. Give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and thank you for spending time with us today in Abby's Kitchen. Enjoy. Bye-bye.